Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see very important articles that appear in our today's Hindi newspaper. So let's get started with our discussion. First I'll let you know important topics of the day, and later on we are going to see each and every topic from mains and as well as prelims point of view. And at last I'll be giving you prelims questions also so that you can understand how you have to answer that questions and how questions can be formed from that so and so topic. You will be getting just awareness. Okay, now let us see the first topics of the day. The first topic is ordinance increases number of SC judges to 37. This article is talking about number of judges in Supreme Court. Now there is increase in number of judges in Supreme Court and it is done by ordinance. Here you have to see what exactly this ordinance means, and you have to see how this number of Supreme Court judges can be increased. What is that process? On these two areas, UPSC can ask you a prelims based question. And next topic is trade, energy and global conflicts at top of agenda during PM's Norway visit. Our PM is on Norway visit and there are two articles, and one is editorial and one is normal article, and we are going to see both, guys. And here you have to see what is that meet is about. That meet is called as Oslo Summit. So you may get a question on that Oslo Summit in your prelims. And even from mains point of view also, India-Norway relations and as well as India and especially this Oslo Summit outcomes also UPSC can ask you a mains based question. And next topic is with all 33 all new crest gates, Tungabhadra Dam gets a fresh lease of life. This article is talking about one important dam called as Tungabhadra Dam. On this already UPSC asked question prelims in 2022, guys. And again you may get a question on this Tungabhadra Dam. So here you have to see about what is a Tungabhadra Dam, and even you have to know some facts regarding this Tungabhadra river. Our next topic is as trees fall in thousands, innovative protests erupt across India. Across India because of this deforestation or felling of trees. Now increased awareness is there for the people. So because of this people are doing some protest, especially it is going on in Uttarakhand region. So here we have to see why there is felling of trees and what is the impact, and you have to see why people are protesting. So this topic is important from environment and ecology. Our next topic is Oslo Summit must mark India's northward turn. So here you have to see what is it Oslo Summit and what are these Nordic countries. You have to see those 5 countries and why our PM is on visit to these countries and what is the expected outcome and why these Nordic countries are important to India. You have to know that as well. Okay, say this title is. Read out the title. Ordinance increases number of Supreme Court judges to 37. There are two keywords. First one is ordinance. Second one is Supreme Court judges number. Yes or no? Can you see these two? If you see PYQs of UPSC prelims, already UPSC asked question on this in 2022 if I am not wrong. In 2022 they asked question. The question was in this way. Consider the following statements regarding ordinance. And they gave 2 or 3 statements and they asked which of the above statements are correct or incorrect. This is very simple question that asked in that year. And which one is, yes, UPSC can ask you a question like what is the process of increasing of number of Supreme Court judges and who has the power, like that there is a possibility. So you have to know clearly what is the process of increasing of number of Supreme Court judges, and even you have to see about what exactly the ordinance is and which articles, everything you have to know. Okay. Now let us see the context. Context says that President has promulgated an ordinance increasing number of judges of Supreme Court to 37, which is excluding CJI. Apart from CJI, now the number of judges in Supreme Court is 37. And who issued this ordinance? President of India. Okay. Now let us see about ordinance. I'll tell you in a simple way. Listen. If any bill has to become an act, what is the process? that bill should be placed in houses of parliament, right? It is both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. First bill has to be placed in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. After that what happened? DDV, debates, discussion and voting will happen. And after this DDV, if enough number of votes achieved either by simple majority or effective majority or absolute majority or special majority which is required, then we can say that that bill is passed. Yes? And after once that bill is passed in one house, again in second house also same process, DDV, voting. If it is passed, then what happened? That bill is placed before whom? President of India. And if president give assent, assent means nothing but just signature, then that bill will become an act. Yes or no? This is the process of bill will be converted into an act which will come into effect. Yes or no? So this is the process. Okay, now let us see how many times this houses will be in session normally. How many sessions we have? 3 sessions. What are they? BMW, budget session, monsoon session, winter session. We have 3 sessions. Okay, normally what is the duration of this budget session? Budget session is the lengthiest session of all these things, right? So normally they will be in session for 3 months, 2 months or 4 months. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2. So these are the normal timings. Then what about remaining timings? There will be no sessions, no? Yes or no? Only in this budget session, monsoon session, winter session, houses will be in work. But other time they are not in session. So what happens if there is any urgent public importance or any other urgently we have to pass a law? Then what happens if houses are not in session? Is that possible to make an act? No. At that time, we have one alternative called as ordinance. It is the power of president or it is a power of governor. They can make laws whenever houses are not in session. Yes, whenever houses are not in session, the power is given to president, is nothing but the first region of India at the central level, and at the state level we have governor have the power to make the laws. When they can make the laws? When Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha both are not in the session. That is the first criteria. If Lok Sabha is in session, Rajya Sabha is not in session, or Rajya Sabha is in session and Lok Sabha not in session, that means if only one house in session also, they can pass this ordinance. Why? Because it is clearly written that the bill should pass in the both houses, okay, to convert into an act. If both houses are not there, it is one criteria. And next one is if only one of the houses is in session also. At that time also, president and governor can use this power of ordinance and they can make the laws. Okay. So now what happened? Now president used this power of ordinance and they are increasing what? Number of judges of Supreme Court to 37. This is the story. Are you understanding here? So ordinance power is nothing but the law making power which is given exclusively. Only these two persons have this, president and governor. And now you guys tell me which article talks about it. President is article 123 and here governor is 213. Only these 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is for president and 213 is for governor, which tells about ordinance making power. Whenever houses are not in session, they can make laws on matters of urgent public importance. Okay. So now let us see the process of increasing of strength of Supreme Court. So if we are talking about number of judges, where it is given? If you see here, article 124(1) of Constitution talks about Supreme Court originally has Chief Justice of India and 7 other judges, and later on we make some changes and we increase the strength, and now with this new ordinance the strength of Supreme Court judges is 37. Okay, and even this article says that Parliament has the power to increase the number of the judges. Who have the power? Parliament. By how? It has to make a law and it can increase the number of judges. And unlike high courts, the president can increase the number of judges through executive orders. But for high courts, president has the power to increase the number of judges of high court through executive order. But for Supreme Court, for sure Parliament has to make a law for increasing of number of judges. So these two are very important points. And now let us see what is the process. The first one here is, okay, to understand this again you have to know one more concept. If you see courts in our country, we have topmost court, that is Supreme Court. Next topmost court in the state is High Court, and at the district level we have district courts or subordinate courts. Major problem in our judiciary is pendency of cases, right? Why pendency of cases are increasing? Because of increased vacancy. If there is increased vacancy of judges, what happens? Obviously that will lead to increased pendency of cases. So now there is increased pendency of cases at all levels, at Supreme Court and as well as High Court level and as well as District Court. To address this problem of pendency of cases, now we have to increase the number of judges of Supreme Court now. Okay, who will tell that there is a need of judges, more judges or not? In Supreme Court we have CJI, who is the highest judge, right? And in High Court we have Chief Justice of High Court. So like that, in each and every level we have one higher authority. So that authority person has to initiate this process of increasing of number of judges in their respective courts. Are you understanding? So in this for this increasing of number of judges of Supreme Court, first this will be initiated by who? CJI. That is nothing but Chief Justice of India will send a proposal. For whom? We have Ministry of Law and Justice, right? So to that ministry, the CJI will be sending a proposal that there is increasing of pendency of cases or backlog of cases. We need more judges in our court. Okay, initiation should be started by CJI by writing a proposal to whom? Ministry of Law and Justice. And next, here that law minister, what he will do here is, he will consult cabinet and cabinet will be giving approval for the increasing of numbers of judges of Supreme Court. After once this cabinet gives approval, then we have to introduce that bill. What is that bill? Number of judges amendment bill. We have to come up with a bill. Bill is nothing but a proposal which says that we want to increase the number of Supreme Court judges. And where it will be placed? In the Parliament. It can be placed in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, whatever it may be. And after placing in one house, they will go for debates, discussions and voting, and they require which majority. Are we doing any amendment to the constitution? No, just we are making a law. That means it has to be passed with which majority? Simple majority. In Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, if this passes with a simple majority, then what happens? Then that will be forwarded to President. If President keep the sign, then what happens? We can directly increase the number of judges of Supreme Court. So this is the process. Are you understanding? First, it has to be initiated by CJI. CJI will give proposal to minister, that is law minister, and next to cabinet, cabinet approval, Parliament, debate, discussion, voting. In voting, we need simple majority. After passing in the both houses, it will go to President, and if President gives an assent, obviously we can increase the number of judges of Supreme Court. Now houses are not in session. Because of this, President used Article 123 and increased the number of judges of Supreme Court by 37. Okay, clear? And now you have to know some more points related to ordinance on which UPSC can make a statement. Clear about this process? Okay, ordinance, you know, whenever houses are not in session, this is the power used by governor and or president under Article 123 and 213 to make the laws. Okay, on which I said about Article 123, Article 213. Okay, on which subjects ordinance can be used? That is a first important question. So on whichever subjects our parliament can make laws, only on that subjects only president and governor can make the laws in ordinance. They should not touch out of the purview of parliamentary power. Our understanding, whatever the power of the parliament is having in regarding to making of laws, only in that subject itself ordinance should be used, not outside. That is the first important thing. And next important one will be, what is the duration? Okay, why this ordinance making power used by the president or governor? Houses are not in session. That is the main reason. That means again the houses will meet. Houses will be in session, right? At that time, this ordinance has to be passed in the house. If they are not passing, means what happens? It will stops. Are you understanding? That is also one more important point that you have to see. Okay. Whenever houses meets, whenever the houses are in session, this ordinance has to be placed before the houses. If houses of parliament are disapproving this ordinance, means what happen? That will stops to operate. That is the first thing. And second one is, if houses are not taking any action, then what happen? Within 6 weeks, it will be expired. Okay, if houses are not taking any action on that, means they will stop to operate within 6 months, within 6 weeks of reassembly of parliament. Okay, that's it guys. So what is the maximum time period of this ordinance? It is 6 months, 6 weeks. Beyond that, this ordinance will not operate. Okay, so these are the some important points that you have to remember regarding this article. Is that clear? Okay, say this article guys. Read out the title. Trade, energy and global conflicts at top of agenda during PM's Norway visit. Where is this Norway located? First of all, tell me guys. Have you heard this name Norway? In which continent it is? Africa? Antarctica? Then North America? South America? Australia? Is it part of Asia? Then which continent? Europe. It is part of Europe. Okay. Is it a temperate country or like tropical country? Temperate or tropical? Tropical means present between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Yes. 30 degrees north to 30 degrees south. If that country is located in that region, it is called as tropical country. Then where is this Norway located? And this time you may get a question on this. That's why I'm asking this. Is it temperate country or like tropical country? It is temperate country. Have you heard about this Arctic Circle? Arctic Circle, where it is located? This is equator, Tropic of Cancer. Below we have Tropic of Capricorn. 66 degrees, what is it? Arctic Circle. Here we have Antarctic Circle, North Pole. It is South Pole. So here in this region we can see this Norway. So we have a council called as Arctic Council. Okay, Arctic Council is nothing but the countries through which this Arctic Circle passes. Can you tell me which countries are those part of Arctic Council? Through which countries is 60 degrees north will passes? Norway, Sweden and Finland. These three countries. And next, Russia. Yes. Next, USA, Alaska part, Canada part, Greenland. Next one is Finland also, right? So these are the countries through which Arctic Circle passes. And this time you may get a question on that. Consider the following countries. Which of the countries are part of Arctic Council? What about India? India is part of it or not? No, India is just an observer country, not part of Arctic Council. Okay, like this, you may get a question regarding Arctic Council. Please make a note. Arctic Council countries, list it out. Arctic Council countries. Because this time Oslo summit is going on, and this one is our Prime Minister visit to this Norway, and Norway is part of this Arctic Council. That means they will be talking something about Arctic region, right? So because of this, you may get a question on Arctic Council this year. So in that way, you have to interlink in everything. If you are reading isolatedly, you can't remember anything, and you cannot answer the questions of prelims. You have to read in interconnected manner to answer your prelims and as well as mains questions. Okay, now let us see this title. Our Prime Minister is on visit to Norway. Yes, you can see that image. Our Prime Minister is on visit to Norway. And now we are going to talk about what? Trade, energy and global conflicts. So these three areas are the top agenda of talks between India and Norway. That is the thing which is said by this title itself. Yes. Now tell me guys, Norway and relation with energy. Is there any relationship between Norway and energy? Think once. You can connect with geography here. Norway and energy. What is the linking? What is the link between these two words? Norway and energy. Trade, you know. Global conflicts also, you know what is happening now in this West Asia. What is happening in this Russia, Ukraine. You know that. Keep it as a trade, you know, exports and imports. Yes, we need to occupy different countries so that we can increase our exports. That will lead to growth, employment opportunities, everything that you know. But tell me, what is the link between Norway and energy? Have you seen many development index, human development index or gender gap index or environment performance index, whatever the indices you take, which are the top countries? Norway, Finland, Sweden. So these will be the top countries for sure. Norway, Finland will be like top countries. That means they are focusing on which kind of energy? Renewable energy sources. Yes. That means India is focusing on shifting towards renewable energy or not. That means if you are having good relations with Norway, then what we are going to get? Green technology understanding, yes or no? So here we are going to talk about technology, especially transition towards solar or wind or other types of clean energy sources. Guys, are you understanding? In this way, by reading title itself, you have to try to interlink with that. Okay, now let us see this in detail. Okay, title says trade energy supplies will be the top agenda as Prime Minister lands in Norway for the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 43 years. From last 43 years, not even a single Indian Prime Minister visited Norway. But after 43 years, our Prime Minister, he is on visit to Norway. And this visit occurs amid global instability. As you know, what is happening across this West Asia. And even energy markets are affecting the more. Yes or no? We are having LPG crisis. We are having crude oil crisis. Increased market prices. International prices of crude oil. Yes. And even there is uncertainty at this Strait of Hormuz. There is no safety for the ships which are moving across the Strait of Hormuz. Everything is going on. So in this tough situations, our Prime Minister went to a visit to Norway. And he is going to have a 5-nation tour now. Which are those 5 nations? UAE, Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy. And in this 5-nation tour, we are focusing on energy security, we are focusing on trade resilience, and we are focusing on increasing of partnership with these countries. These are the agenda of this 5-nation tour of our Prime Minister. And if you say this trade agenda, what is the trade agenda? We want to finalize free trade agreement with this countries like Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein and Switzerland. And we want to boost our bilateral trade. That means increasing of exports and imports between the country. And next one is we are focusing on attracting of investment. The major problem in our country is investments are going outside. Because of that, the depreciation of Indian rupee is happening, that we discussed in earlier classes last 2 days. So now we want to attract more and more investments from these countries. So these are the three important points from trade. And next one is clean energy agenda. As you know that these European countries are like developed countries, advanced countries, and they have good technology related to clean energy. Okay, that is why they are releasing very less carbon dioxide emissions and they are top in different indicators. So we are focusing on clean and green energy transition, and we want to get technology of renewable energy, green hydrogen and blue economy. And next one here is we are focusing on maritime cooperation for greener shipping solutions. Especially what is happening now, if you want to increase the trade. So how can we reach these European countries? Through waterways easily, right? So for that reason, we need to have greener shipping solutions. And we are focusing on energy security discussions, like how we can transition towards renewable energy. How can we maximize this efficiency of this clean energy? So all these will be the discussions. And next one is global conflicts and geopolitics. You know what is happening in this West Asia. Not only in West Asia, across the world, there are many areas which are in conflicts. So if a country is in conflicted zone, obviously it will be having impact on another country also, because now we are in globalized era. What is globalized era? One country is for sure dependent on another countries. If one country is not in a good situation, obviously it will be having impact on other countries also. So those are the discussions in this meet case. Clear? Three areas. One is trade, next one is clean energy, and third one is geopolitics. Okay, see this article, read out the title. With 33 all new crest gates, Tungabhadra Dam gets a fresh lease of life. This article is directly talking about Tungabhadra Dam. Okay, I can't remember the question clearly. So they said that they gave one name of the dam, and they said that this dam is constructed on which river? Krishna, Godavari, Tungabhadra, and one is Penna, I guess. So answer is Tungabhadra. So like that you will be getting questions on dams also. And this year there are many dams which are in news related to Indus river system. So students who are writing this 2026 exam, please note down the dams and river, especially on this river Indus system. On Chenab we have lots of dams which are there in news. Okay, see once. And recently very high rail road bridge had been inaugurated on this river Chenab. I said that I don't know whether you can recall it or not. So just make down. It will not take more than 5 minutes to search in Google. So just note down the list of dams which were in news on this river Indus system. You have to see. Why? Because of this Operation Sindoor also we suspended this Indus Water Treaty, right? So because of that reason also this time Indus Water Treaty, Indus and its rivers, that will become very important this year. So you have to see in that point of view, guys. Okay, now let us see about this dam. Tungabhadra Dam is also known as Pampa Sagar, and it is a multi-purpose dam. What is the meaning of multi-purpose? It can be used for different purposes. For which purposes we can use this dam? For drinking water, for irrigation purpose, agriculture purpose. Yes. And it is located in Ballari district of Karnataka and built by Tirumallai Iyengar in year 1953 itself. No word of remembering the storage capacity. UPSC will not ask that much minute details. Okay, just remember in which state and on which river and who built this. And if you see some facts regarding this Tungabhadra river, it is a sacred river in South India which flows through two states, Karnataka and AP. AP guys will be knowing that more, and even Karnataka guys, but Telangana guys may not be. Okay, so here it flows through Karnataka to AP. And next one here is, it is around 710 kilometers long and it formed by confluence of two rivers. One is Tunga river and Bhadra river. They together join and they forms this Tungabhadra river, and it is in an east flowing river, and it is a main tributary of which river? Krishna river or Godavari river? Yes, river Krishna. And the major tributaries of this river are Bhadra, Haridra, Vedavati, Tunga, Vardha and Kumdavati. So these are the major tributaries of this river also. So how can you get a question is in 2023 or 2022 the question was in this way, which of the following are the tributaries of river Kaveri? And you may get this in this way, which of the following are the tributaries of river Tungabhadra, and you have to select that. Okay, like that also UPSC can ask you a question. Here you have to remember Bhadra and Tunga, Vardha, Kundavati, Haridra and Vedavati. So these are the tributaries. Okay, see this next article guys. Nicobar project is a recipe for ecological disaster. Okay, what is the keyword here? Nicobar project. What you are constructing in this Nicobar project? Come on, tell me. Many times we discussed this topic in our class. What we are developing in this Nicobar project? First one is a transshipment port. Second one is airport. Third one is township. Fourth one is power plants. Right? So where exactly we are constructing this? In Nicobar area. What are the concerns of this project? First one is deforestation. Millions of trees should be cut off. Next, two tribal people has to be completely displaced. Who are they? Nicobaris and Shompen. Next, which animal species are endangered? Saltwater crocodile, leatherback turtles, Nicobar tree shrew, Nicobar megapode. So these are the four animal species which are under threat because they are endemic in that region, right? Okay, now tell me guys, how this Andaman and Nicobar is formed because of plate tectonics, plate movement. Yes, and even one active volcano of India is also located in this area. What is the name of that island name? Sorry, volcano name? Barren Island, where it is like active volcano. That means we can see there is active plate movement also in that region. That means this region is stable or unstable? Unstable. If we are constructing this kind of heavy infrastructure projects, is that viable? No. So because of this, it may cause ecological disaster. So we are going to lose forest, we are going to lose the livelihood of people, we are going to lose major animal species in that region, and even ecologically also it is not sustainable. So because of this, author of this article is saying that Nicobar project is an ecological disaster. Are you understanding? So just revise what are the points that we discussed in our earlier class. It is not at all a new topic. Okay, just to make you aware. So how can you get a question? Nicobar project is a recipe for ecological disaster. Comment, discuss, critically analyze. Like that you may get a mains based question. And you have to write why this Nicobar project is an ecological disaster. Are you understanding? So in that way only UPSC questions will be there in your mains. They will add, discuss, comment, analyze, critically analyze, examine at last. Clear? Say this article is, as trees fall in thousands, innovative protests erupt across India. What can you see here? People are protesting by holding a candle. Next, what can you see there? We want to see birds in the sky, not cars. Next, why these people are protesting? Okay, what is happening here is across our country we are focusing on development. Yes or no? What kind of development? We are going for widening of roads. Narrow roads into big roads. Actually, what is the problem when we are going for widening of roads? There is a famous saying, I think you might have heard about this in your school time. Ashokudu రోడ్డుకి రెండు వైపులా చెట్లు నాటెను. Have you seen this? Have you heard this? That means normally when you are traveling on road, we can see big year-old trees that were there on the sides of the road. Even here in this highway of, even recently government sanctioned Hyderabad to Bijapur highway. Do you know this? Hyderabad to Bijapur highway. So in that road widening, there are many trees which were of 200 years ago, 300 years ago, especially banyan trees, they have to be taken away. They have to cut down the trees. Then what happens if you are going for just development purpose for increasing of road widening, if you are going on cutting lakhs of trees, is that okay? Our environment can sustain or not? No, right? So here they are saying that when we are going for road widening projects or in this Chardham area also, we are going for extension of these roads in this Chardham areas. What is this Chardham? We have 4 important sacred pilgrimage sites: Badrinath, Kedarnath, Yamunotri and Gangotri. So what is happening here in these regions? There is increased pilgrims and they become more tourist sites nowadays. So because of that, whatever the infrastructure that is there in that area, that is not able to accommodate the increase in number of pilgrims. So because of this, they want to extend this development in that region. So where are these regions located? In Himalayas. So how these Himalayas were formed? By collision of Indian plate with Eurasian plate. Yes or no? They are like sedimentary rocks which are there. Then if you are going for drilling development more and more, can that rock withstand? It is not igneous rock, it is sedimentary rock. It cannot withstand. So because of that, what happened? Frequent landslide, frequent earthquakes will happen in this area, right? So here this article is saying that in the name of just development, if you're going on widening of roads or increasing of developmental projects, going on giving more and more leases for mining in hills or any other forest area, then what happened? Obviously it will be having impact on environment, right? So now here citizens, they are doing protest because of increased tourism related and developmental projects in Uttarakhand region. Okay, so here they are doing lot of social media campaigns. Earlier, have you heard about Chipko movement? What is a Chipko movement? One mining company came and it went for cutting down of trees. At that time, women of that tribal community, what they did? They went and they hugged the trees. Yes, that movement famously called as Chipko movement. In which state it was started? Uttarakhand, right? So here at that time, because of lack of social media, they went and they hugged the trees. But now we have social media, technology, everyone is having mobile phones. So because of this, they are coming up with some new kind of innovative protest. And they are using this social media to raise their objections. Okay, so that is this article. So now because of increased awareness, increased technology, increased internet penetration, whatever the small thing which is happening in one area, it is spreading like a wildfire and everyone is coming to know what is happening wrong, right? Because of that, there is increased awareness. So because of this, nowadays people are using some innovative methods to do protest, and now they are using the social media platforms to raise awareness and to raise their concerns to government. That is this article, guys. As trees fall in thousands, innovative protest erupts across India. That means because of this developmental projects which are happening across the country, so people are doing protest by using the social media platforms. Earlier, if they have to do the protest, what they do? What they did earlier? People used to gather in one place. For example, you know Jallianwala Bagh also. And on this Kal Baisakhi Day, people gathered at this Jallianwala Bagh. Yes or no? At that time, because of lack of awareness about the technology, if there is no proper availability of technology at that time, so people used to come out and they meet and they used to protest and they used to go for walkathons, running and sitting before the offices like that. But now everything is on social media. Because of that, what happened? Reach will be more and they'll be getting even more support and they'll be also getting funds. Yes or no? That is about this article, guys. And say this article, the Oslo summit must mark India's now northward turn. So here the keyword is Oslo summit. Please make a note. Oslo summit is also called as India Nordic Summit. Please make a note. India Nordic Summit or Oslo Summit. India Nordic Summit or Oslo Summit. Okay, my first question to you. Here it is Nordic. Can you tell me which countries are called as Nordic countries? Any idea? There are 5 countries group. This is called as Nordic countries. Any idea? 5 countries to Nordic countries. Please make a note. Nordic countries. Keep side heading Nordic countries. Nordic countries. Nordic countries. Norway, Sweden, Finland. Norway, Sweden, Finland. Norway, Sweden, Finland. Iceland and Denmark. Iceland and Denmark. Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and Denmark. Okay, after class, open your atlas and see where these locations are there, or at least you have maps hereby. So just stand there and just see where those countries are located, guys. అక్కడ కనిపించదు, ఇక్కడ కనిపిస్తుంది. That is not political. This is political map. That is physical map. In physical map, you can see the countries. Here you can see. Okay, see after the class. Whatever the countries I'll tell after the class, at least you have to see here if you can't open your mobiles or atlas. Okay, now let us see here what is this summit is about. Prime Minister, he is on visit to Oslo to attend this India Nordic Summit. And what is in India Nordic Summit? India Nordic Summit brings together India plus 5 Nordic countries. What are those 5 Nordic countries? Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway and as well as Iceland. Okay, these 5 countries together are called as Nordic countries. Okay, so what we are focusing is, we are focusing on 5 important pillars in this summit. First one is green partnership, that is we are focusing on clean energy because these countries are good at technology. And next one is we are focusing on technology and innovation. We are focusing on trade and investment. Next one is sustainable development. And next one is we are focusing on Arctic region security. What is happening in this Arctic region is, we have Arctic Ocean, right? How many important oceans we have? We have 5 oceans. Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean and Arctic Ocean and Antarctic Ocean. So Arctic Ocean will be lies above 60 degrees north. Then what happened? It is very much near to this North Pole. So this region will be under ice most of the times. But what is the problem now is climate change. Global warming is happening. Because of global warming, what is happening here? Arctic ice is melting at a very faster pace. Earlier, this area is not accessible to go to by using the ships. That is, navigation was very difficult at this place. But now, navigation is becoming very easy because of melting. Because of this, what happens? If navigation is possible, will these countries sharing boundary with this Arctic Circle be silent? No, they want to exploit the resources in this Arctic region. So, because of this, what is happening? The security of Arctic Ocean is under debate now. So, because of this, you are talking about Arctic region security also in this area. Why? Because India is an observer member in Arctic Council, that I said, right? India is observer member of Arctic Council. Because of this, India has a right to speak about Arctic Ocean security. So, because of this, in this meet, India is also focusing on Arctic energy security or Arctic region security. Are you understanding here? So, there are 5 important things they are focusing on. And if you see here, next point is we are focusing on green transition. Especially we are focusing on green shipping, green corridors. We want to incorporate more and more wind energy, smart grids and circular economy. What is circular economy? And this is previous year's question. Many a times they asked question on the circular economy, minimum 5 times. And I think yesterday or day before yesterday I said about the circular economy. What is this economy? We are focusing on 3 R's. What are they? Reduce, reuse, recycle, right? So if you are focusing on reduce, reuse and recycle, obviously we can go for circling of our economy. Economy will not stop at a point of time. It will be going on, moving on a circular format. That is called as circular economy. And next one is we want to focus on supply chain disruptions also, and we want to focus on multilateralism, multiculturalism, everything. And here you have to think on only one point, guys, why we want this Nordic countries. First one is for our economic growth and to attract investments, obviously we need to have the support from this Nordic countries. That is the first reason. And second one is blue economy and maritime trade. Especially Norway leads a task force on ocean energy and as well as maritime spatial planning, deep sea research. And if you are having help with this Norway, we can also improve in this maritime security because India is a net security provider in this Indian Ocean region. We can learn from them and we can implement in our area. That is the second reason. And as far as Finland and Sweden, they are partnering with India related to advanced telecommunication, especially 6G telecommunication. Which countries are helping India? Sweden and as well as Finland. And even they are helping India related to AI and quantum technology, so that we can secure our digital public infrastructure as well. So for that reasons, we need this Nordic countries. And second one is green energy and climate action, that you know. Next one is geopolitics and Arctic policy. So here Nordic countries, these 5 countries, they comprise about 62% of all Arctic states. So because of this, if you are having good relation with these countries, so India's Arctic policy related initiatives will be also can be taken forward. That is the reason. And next one here is for global governance, we need to have the help of this Nordic countries. So these are the reasons why we need to maintain good relationship with this Nordic countries. Okay, see these questions, guys. Read out the question and tell me the answer. Consider the following statements regarding ordinance making power of president. First one is president can promulgate ordinance only when both houses of parliament are not in session. An ordinance has the same force and effect as an act of parliament. An ordinance must be approved by parliament within 6 weeks from reassembly of parliament. The president can withdraw an ordinance at any time. Apply the techniques and tell me the answer. What is the answer? See, next. Any other answers? Govind? A, okay. Others? A or C? Raju, A or C? A. No idea. C. A or C? Only. Answer is A. So here I said president can promulgate ordinance when both houses are not in session, and even if one house in session also they can, right? That means this will be wrong. Ordinance is like act of parliament only. It has to be approved by parliament within 6 weeks, I said. And next one is can withdraw. Yes, he is passing. He can withdraw. What's wrong in that? Answer is 2, 3 and 4. Answer A. Option A is right answer. Okay. See this next question and answer in the same way. Consider the following statements regarding Supreme Court of India. First one, the Parliament has power to increase the number of judges in the Supreme Court. The Constitution originally fixed the number of Supreme Court judges permanently. Next one is the Chief Justice of India is included in the sanctioned strength of the Supreme Court. The number of Supreme Court judges can be increased by a constitutional amendment only. Apply the techniques and tell me. C. Next. Others. B. B. C. Next. B. C. A. D. A. B. C. Govind. B. Sanjana. C. Okay, you are confused between this B and C, no? What is the difference here? 2. Say the second statement, Constitution originally fixed. Permanent ga madam change chestamo. It is not permanent, no? We are changing. First, it is initially 7 members only. Now it is 37. That means is that permanent? No, answer is B. 1 and 3 only. Okay? Use common sense. Use logic. Okay, that's all, guys. By this, I'm concluding. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this class, please do hit the like button. And please share this class to your friends. And that's all, guys. And if you want to join GS Foundation course here, we are providing both on online and offline. You can contact us on this number 8074765513, guys. And even you can visit our academy, which is located in Ashok Nagar, Hyderabad. And I will be available in the office from morning to evening, guys. You can come and you can talk to me directly. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.